2 days into the battalion. I had come from 2nd Armored Division as a division chemo at that time. And so I joined the battalion, was on leave, San Antonio, you know, we're at Fort Hood. So I'm in San Antonio, and Iraq goes into Kuwait. So I get a call from the battalion commander, and he goes, Mike, you need to get back now. And I says, you can watch the TV. I said, Roger. He goes, okay. And he says, we just got notifications to come on back. So my time as a 3 was really getting sorted out, looking at task organization, getting ready to deploy, and how do we stage that? Not all of our companies were leaving. New Mexico wasn't on the deploy order, so 4-6 was going to stay in place. And so we were going to receive some additional units in theater with 18th Airborne Corps. And so as we went through the plans, I looked at the radio comms net. Pretty picture in the tactical SOP. Really nice. And I asked the XO, who was the 3 before me, and I said, when was the last time you guys did this? Actually get to talk in the field and exercise this? He goes, yeah, got to be kidding me. So what little time we still had at Fort Hood, we fleshed out the talk, had it set up in the motor pool, we looked at the comms nets and everything, and we were short radios in the HHD. And so, so I looked around. Chaplain had a radio in his vehicle. S4 had a radio. I think the 1 had a radio. So I started pulling radios. I was not the popular guy because the staff said, you know, chaplain said, you can't take my radio. And the force said, I need a radio, and everybody needs a radio. I said, okay. Talk to the battalion commander, but I'm taking the radios because we've got to be prepared to set up the nets and do that we can. And I said, let's set up the talk. We're going to start the shifts. Popular again, because it's like, why do we need to do that? And it's like, no, I wanted to flesh out the comms. That was right before the scuds started to come through. But again, getting the shifts going, so you know who's on day, who's on night, and how are we going to do the shifts, and start kind of doing a sleep plan, eat plan kind of thing was helpful. My battle staff was in the process of picking up the new companies that we had. We still had equipment coming in at the ports, like 4-6 Meg Smoke. The Meg Smoke companies were just coming into theater because they weren't needed for the defensive portion of the campaign. So receiving units, getting them head out to the desert, to the tactical assembly area. So all new forces, all new companies. One thing I kept in my mind was the whole issue of, you know, we got almost 600 soldiers. We got 145,000 soldiers in the 18th and 7th Corps, the Armored Corps. We had about 5 tank divisions in the 2nd ACR. So sizable force. How are we going to support that fight? And how do we punch, above our standards? So G-Day, when we actually attacked the ground, this just kind of gives you an array of where we were. We're going to be in green that you'll see on the map, and you'll see the Iraqi forces that were raided, the U.S. forces that were coming through. We were part of the 1st Infantry Division, so they were the main attack for 7th Corps to go through the breach. Has anybody seen the border berm on between Iraq and Saudi Arabia? It's a huge wall of dirt. And it's kind of like no man's land between Iraq and Saudi Arabia, so they kind of figure that's the border, and this is huge, huge wall of dirt. And so we literally had to blow with MIG-Links, gaps through the dirt berm, and that was your passage lanes to go in. And so 1st Infantry Division was main attack, secure the breachhead, and then 3rd Armored Division would become the main attack. So 1st Infantry Division, 3rd Armored Division was going to be supporting it initially, and then they'll become main attack. And the 1st Cav Division was really the deception plan. So they wanted to portray a much larger force like a corps, and their mission was to really draw attention, keep the forces fixed in place, and keep them out of the fight. The Iraqis had the 26th Division opposite us, and that was probably about the furthest west that they were able to actually put forces. A lot of them were draftees, and we just dumped into the middle of the desert and said, defend here. Decon sites, so only 2, and so I'll talk a little bit about how that came to be. And then there's that other little decon site up there. I'll tell you about that for the Brits. Anybody worked with the Brits before? Okay, it's different. It was interesting, tactics, techniques, procedures, and even terms of what, how they do things. So when we crossed into the breach, this was the image of my mind that I saw when we did the preps at 04. So by first light, we're moving, the entire corps is moving. And so as far as you can see from the left and right, that's what it looks like. It's just columns of tanks, brads, you name it, artillery, stuff that's going forward. So it was amazing to me that, and the Iraqis put up their white flag very quickly after we started coming through. But that was the image. I'll go through a couple of vignettes because these are just like little things that happen. Probably not a lot of people know about that, but we crossed through the berm. We're moving in Iraq. Everything, the Corps is actually attacking much faster than the original plan. So we're moving, and all of a sudden we stop. Our column stops, dead halt, nobody's moving. So I call to find out what's going on, and the battalion XO is forward, and he goes, "We're jammed up." I go, "5, what do you mean we're jammed up?" And he goes, "We got traffic jam. This is a desert. How in the world have we got a traffic?" So I go up to the front of the column, and we were moving because we had 2 mech smoke, 3 decons, so we had put the mech smoke lead and the trail on the flanks and tuck the wheel vehicles in the center. So I go up to the front, and sure enough, our column is head on with the field artillery regiment from the 1st UK Tank Division. And they are just literally jammed up, traffic jam in the middle of the desert. And I knew they had to be somewhere, we needed to be somewhere, and I'm thinking, okay, what do we do? So, anybody seen the movie Patton? Okay. Don't ever let go of anything that may be useful. But for some reason at that time, I thought about the movie Patton, where he got up on his Jeep and he had a traffic jam in the desert, I think in North Africa. He actually did a traffic direction. So I told my driver to pull up the vehicle, I get up on top of it, and I started to do a traffic thing. It works. Started doing the zipper thing, you know, and the SP artillery is going one way, our tracks and the vehicles are going another. We finally got undone and continued to move. So you can't have a traffic jam, but again, you just got to figure out what can work and then get it done. So G+1, second day of the fight, we're kind of halted, temporary halt at that time because the Corps, actually the Army, both the Corps, 18th Airborne and 7th Corps, were way ahead of schedule. So we had secured the breachhead, and so at that point, Corps said, okay, 3rd AD, main attack, and that's when we were going to chop to 3rd Armored Division. It sounds easy, and this is where fog of war came in, and some of my concerns really started to materialize. Because the Corps, when they came out with it, I actually had to go to Corps and ask the chemical staff, Corps chemical officer, that 7th Corps, do you really think this is viable? Because the plan was, 1st Infantry Division, we're supporting main attack, going through the breach, in contact with the Iraqi division to the front, and then 3rd Armored Division picks up main attack. So they wanted us to detach from our mech division in contact, leave, go find an armored tank division in contact, and link up. And nobody escorting, nobody providing any security or movement. And oh, by the way, because we were chopped from 18th Airborne to 7th Corps, we never had GPS. Ours ended up in 18th Corps somewhere. First ID didn't want to give it to us because we were going to leave after phase 3. So we went through with an static compass. The best I could do was get a FA. We were attached to DeVardy in first ID. So he had a GPS, and one of the lieutenants actually took us to the contact point that we had coordinated. And that was the best on the division flank that we left. Got to the contact point. It was about 1,800. Nobody there. So big wide open area. And so my plan B was there's another field artillery brigade that was going to the west, the 75th, going to 1st Armored Division. And so I talked to the brigade commander and said, hey, can we fall in with you guys, at least going ahead west, for some security, and then we'll drop off somewhere in 3AD zone. He goes, oh yeah, we're moving now, so they'll fall in. So that morning when we had stopped the 4, Commander actually sent the 4 south with all the TPUs that we had. So, you know, how many fuel tankers do we have in the Chemical Battalion HHT? Right? So we had limited fuel, so the organic companies that had fuel TPUs and everything, so the 4 led a whole group south to Saudi Arabia, fueled up, you know, carried all the fuel, but then refueled all the vehicles. Because we really didn't know how long we were going to go, how many days, and the distance that we were going to go. But by ourselves, we had to do as best we can. So that was the best thing to do. So we detach, we're on our own, we're going through the MLRS, the multiple rocket launcher rockets, the little bomblet, pipe bombs. So they're everywhere. There's just like acres and acres of these things. And you're driving through in night vision goggles, and you see these pipes, little sections just everywhere. And so they were unexploded because when they hit the sand, they didn't explode. They were all shaped charges for longer distances. So we made it through that without any problems. So we got to a logger position, and in the night, and what we did was we just took up a defensive logger position at night. It was about 01 in the morning. We dropped off from the Field Artillery Brigade and figured we were in the 380 zone somewhere, but nobody around. So we formed up a defensive position. My key concern was friendly fires that night because I was not aware if 380 knew where we were. And they just knew we were coming to join them, but I don't think anybody really knew exactly where we were. And so my worst fear was to have Apaches hunting and see a bunch of hot spots down there and say, there shouldn't be anybody there. So we formed up a defensive position. Prior to the ground fight, I was concerned about comms, and so we were fighting on FM. So we had some digital, you know, rudimentary MCS. I don't know if have y'all ever seen those? Big square boxes, and they were the first, you know, you could actually put digital graphics and your op plan and all that kind of stuff and pass it. So it's kind of digital, but the Corps commander said, I'm fighting on FM. So everybody went to FM, and that's how we were going to fight. So I thought, based on distances, I got to maximize my distance. What can I do? I remember talking to the signal NCOIC and HHD and explaining the situation. And he goes into his, well, you can do a dipole antenna, you know. And I said, okay, Chief, simple, you know, Dick and Jane. What have you got to get me the max range? And he said, I could put a bracket on your Humvee, you know, and we'll stow a 524 antenna rig in the back. And then when you guys stop somewhere, you'll have to stop and then put up the antenna, and then you'll be able to boost your range. So it was about 03, trying to get contact with 3AD. The driver died, big rainstorm came through. So we're out there, we got the antenna up, got the guide wires pounded in. So I started trying to get up on the command net, tried to get 1st Infantry. They had already moved on out of range, couldn't get anybody. So 3AD got up on their command net, and it was about 03 when I got up on the division command net, and the G3 comes up. And I identified who we were, where we were, and that we're on our way to link up. And I remember his very, very short. He goes, Roger, I got it. He says, we're in a tank fight, I'll get back to you now. And so hope is not a course of action, but I will tell you, I was hoping that there's some officer or NCO in the DTAC or DTAC who monitored that transmission, got the grid, went to the map board and said, okay, put a mark there, somebody's here. And so we didn't have any issues with Apaches over there or A-10s, so that worked out well. My first light, we saw some fuel tankers, and I think they were 3AD fuel tankers heading north. So we figured we'll just kind of trail them for the rest of the day and get up to where we can make contact with 3ADs. And that's what we did. So internal lines of communications, internal security. How do you prepare for that? And you'll hear me talk about training, assessing training levels and everything, but when you get a mixture of reserve component, active duty, new units, different SOPs, just some of the basic things were critical that we all could react on contact or just tactical security as we're moving. And so we worked on that to move the rest of the day. Meanwhile, 3AD is now main attack, and they're focused on defeating and destroying the Talakana Republican Guard Division. So by that time, the Corps was doing that big hook to the east and just rolling up the enemy into the flanks. On G+3, we were now part of 3rd Army Division. One little vignette. Staffs are great folks. So when we rolled up, it was about nightfall on the day prior. We rolled up on the D-top. You can see antenna farm just everywhere. So we figured it's got to be a big headquarters. It was the main division main top. So we rolled up. I remember Battalion Commander Col Mike Brown. We walked up to the D main, and he met the division chemical officer. And he goes, "Hey, we're here. I'm formed up right outside your perimeter. I need some fuel." And I remember he goes, "Oh, not a problem, Daryl." He goes, "Pull up your Humvee to the TPU over there and, fill up." And Kilgore says, "No, you don't understand." He goes, "I need fuel for that." We had about 200 vehicles, a mixture of tracks and wheels, and food, water, and all the other logistics. So it's interesting how this in Kimbo's mind, it was, "Yeah, pull your Humvee up here." It's like, no, we need for that formation out there. So exploitation, the following day, 3AD, defeating the Talakana. So we were trailing the division. Because of the M1s, with firepower superiority, they were defeating all Iraqi armor on the battlefield, so they didn't really need smoke. Probably because in exploitation, they were trying to break contact, so chances of them slamming us was probably slim. Because they were pretty much in disarray and so formation. So we were attached to DISCOM, and we trailed with them and provided security on one of the flanks as we were moving north of the division as they were approaching the Kuwaiti border. So as we went through, bypassed a lot of forces, destroyed armor, vehicles, formations from the 52nd Tank Division, Iraqi Tank Division, and Talakana. So what we found was, again, internal security, you have to plan for that. You want to be tucked with somebody, you want to have security, but if you don't have it, how do you provide your own to be prepared to be able to do that? Lines of communication supply, at that point there was nobody ready to supply us, and so we had to be able to do our own. And also fires and medevac. So at least this point, we were tied in with the DISCOM, and so we had to hire to get the resources. About late afternoon, early evening, I go forward. We're crossing, the battalion was crossing through a minefield right before the Iraqi-Kuwaiti border, which was like a one-lane asphalt road. As it turns out, that was the border. So battalion's going through. We did have somebody from one of the companies, it's very slow going through the minefields, deliberate minefield, and they found bomb. He jumped out, and the soldiers picked it up and said, "It's a souvenir," and threw it in the back of the tank and pump unit for the decon unit. So it blew a hole in the TPU pod. And so it was stay in your vehicles, don't get out, don't pick anything up as we're going through. So by that time, I'm forward, cross through, they're rounding up Iraqi crews out of their tanks and vehicles and everything. A lot of them were just being told to walk north, drop your weapons and just keep walking. So there's people everywhere. I'm trying to get land for an alpha-alpha for the battalion that night when we occupy. So worked with the forward element of the DISCOM, found a chunk of land, and the best we could do was, okay, navigate our way back, I put some chem lights, thinking, okay, this is pretty smart, you know, put some chem lights so I can see it. And then that's what it looked like when I was looking back to where our alfalfa was. And with all the Kuwaiti oil fires and the illumination that night, there's no way I would find the chem lights. So I'm thinking, how do I find the battalion? How do I lead them back to the land that we had to be able to do a night occupation? But again, second time, hope is not a course of action, but I'm thinking as we approach the border, man, I'm hoping our battalion is close to the road. Came up and bumper number, through my night vision goggles, was the bumper number on the smoke track, 46. So, and for those of you who don't know, General King was Lieutenant King, XO for the 46 mixed smoke. And so 46 fell in, led the rest of the way, and we occupied the night occupation in Kuwait. Incidentally, that night I told you there's Iraqi soldiers everywhere coming out of tanks, and they were armored, dug in positions. So we occupied the next morning, early morning. I'm looking out and I see a gun tube 300 meters away. And so driver and I go to explore. This is an Iraqi tank battalion. Dug in, and just the tubes are sticking up. We had found a tank turret key, opened up the tank, full of ammunition, fuel, and they had just policed up the crews that night. And so did not see that tank battalion. So again, just be prepared for the unexpected. But the good thing is nobody was there. We occupied, and then after that, on G+5, we focused on our sector of defense, clearing the sector of any other remnant forces, went through maintenance, personnel, logistics, all that kind of stuff. And then we also had humanitarian operations in Safwan, Iraq, where 3rd AD needed some support. So our folks were focused on doing that. So that's where we ended up. And so a couple of the key things that I wanted to go through in terms of how we posture ourselves was, I thought it would be useful to kind of go through the whole mission command piece. Situational understanding, how do you adapt, and how do you get simultaneity of capabilities? So the CG 1st Infantry Division, as he went through his op plan, for very specific specified tasks. You know, attack, do not slow down my attack. I don't want to see smoke in the breach. And he goes, I need to support the deception with the 1st Cav of showing strength to the east. And so those were our specified tasks. And so based on that, we had to then take a look at what the plans were. Now that's what we had, our battalion. So almost 600 soldiers, tracked vehicles, wheeled vehicles, trailers, dragging a bunch of trailers. We had started the ground fight with a big tractor trailer rig, refrigerated rig. We got that because that was going to be the battalion north. Didn't need it, great for cold water, and he kept getting stuck in the sand once we got into Iraq. He just said, you need to go back. And so, again, all the junk that people had loaded in their vehicles that they didn't need, we put it in there and just told them to head back to Saudi Arabia, and we'll link up with them after that. So load plans were key. We had 3 basic loads of ammo. So the guys didn't smoke, the guys didn't smoke, you were standing on all the ammunition and stuff. So that's what we had. How did you punch above your weight? 590 soldiers, 145,000 in the Corps. What are we going to do to actually support? The good thing is they did put us in the 1st Infantry Division. So based on CG's intent, rapid attack, don't slow it down, continue to move. I kind of took that as an opportunity to say, how can we best support that? Anybody like peanut butter here? Spreading chemical units like peanut butter across the forest is not the way to go. So when we came to the 1st Infantry Division, the division op plan, the draft showed us our battalion, basically a chemical company, decon, would be chopped to 1st Brigade, 1 to 2nd Brigade. The Fox Recon would be chopped to, spread out between the 2 line brigades up front. And battalion headquarters would have two decon platoons to kind of fill in as we needed. And that was the division I planned. And I thought, you know, opportunity then, based on the CG's intent and specified tasks, what were the implied tasks for us? And one of the key things that I found was, I asked them to work with the G3 and the G4, how are you going to have any vehicles coming south, back south? And so for the vehicles that are shot up and being dragged back to get to refit, rearm, recruit, and everything, the Division G4 says the division flanks were going to be the only lanes going south, everything else is north. And so I thought that's the best place to put the decon sites. And so we had proposed 2 deliberate decon sites on the division flank in conjunction with the rearm refit points. And that's where they'll have security. The units would provide security for themselves when they come through. We can position assets there, resources to be able to do it. And again, tied in with the division concept. Not going to be in the middle trying to do deliberate decon. That one site that you saw in the front at the beginning, that was for the British. So the British said, we do forming up positions, FUPs. And we said, okay, what is that? And a forming up position is once you go through the breach and everything, they wanted to kind of sort themselves out and reform, and that's a forming up position. And then from there, they would attack. And their CG said, you know, if I get slimed in the breach, I want to have some support, decon support. And so that was going to be a hasty kind of affair. The rest of the 1st Infantry was prepared to fight dirty. So they knew that, and so there was not going to be a decon for them unless they get shot up and brought back. And so we kind of took a look at the intent. So we said, maneuver forces, hasty decon on their own, fight dirty. Delivery decon to the flanks. The recon, Fox recon, were units that were attached to it, to the battalion. And again, the initial concept was they're going to be just spread across the front and moving in the attack. And I recommended that we really relook at that and say, have them under the crossing force commander's control, but have them focused so that if there is a chemical attack in the breach, their mission is going to be find a clean route. Don't focus on confirming dirty, find me a clean route for the rest of the force to go through. So that's where they were positioned to do the fight. And again, deception smoke was in the east. And so both mech smoke companies were attached to 437 Armor, which was in their 2nd Brigade and 1st ID. And they were the division's east flank. And so literally, the flank of the 1st Infantry Division in the reception phase before we attacked was a smoke track from 2nd Chem Battalion, and the next vehicle over was an M1 tank from the 1st Cat Division. So they held that position online until we actually attacked. So again, based on that, we went back up. I saw it as an opportunity to revisit the task organization mission approved by the G3 and the CG, and that's how we continue the fight. So task organization, decision cycle. Has anybody ever seen a synchronization matrix? Ever heard of that? Okay. So it's just a big, I found it really useful, where it pictorially shows you, your friendly plans across the top of what was going to happen by phase, by time. Enemy potential courses of action, what they would probably do, react. And then down the left side was all your capabilities, whether it's fires, maneuver, counter mobilities, mobility, survivability. And so we were part of that. So that was listed on the left side. And so I put a copy in the museum of the mimeograph. I mean, it actually cranked mimeograph sheets, big poster sheets, and it kind of survived the years of moving and sitting in the attic and boxes and stuff in my foot locker. So it's in the museum, but it's a sync matrix to show you have to be part of the plan to get resources. You can't, and so I knew we had to do the deliberate decon sites, and so being part of that approved synchronization matrix, got the call on G-3, and I get a call from the S3 for the Combat Engineer Battalion, the division, saying, we're ready to dig in. I said, Roger, meet me at this grid. We went there, and I said, okay, I'm figuring he's going to have a backhoe and a bulldozer and something else. And he says, no, I got the entire battalion. We're going to dig you guys in. So they had the scrapers and you name it, they had it. Their NCOIC actually, even in the 3 shop, actually, after I told them the concept, I wanted to approach in 4 different directions based on wind to kind of make it 4 different directions that you could come through this thing. I need an area that they could form up and provide own security, go through the decon, and then a staging area afterwards. So they did that, but the NCOIC said, how are you going to get water? I said, well, we're going to get tankers from the Corps. And they have pumps, and we'll just pump it into the bladders. And he goes, you know, sir, pumps don't always work. He goes, how about if I build you ramps for the trucks, for the tankers, and they can actually drive up on the ramps, and then if the pumps break, you just grab these feet down to the bladders. So perfect. So that's what they did. And so we got the water, about 20,000 gallons, and we had the sites done again. The attachment, I kind of harp back, but do you all still have discussions about chemical units and how were you task organized? Are you OPCON or GS or DS or okay. I'm a fan for attachment, especially for decisive action, especially for a long joint air land deep fight, because you got to be part of that unit. And so there's a couple of vignettes, and I hope you don't mind these little vignettes, but these are just things that happen, and it just, to me, it gives me a smile after all these years, 24 years. But when we got to first infantry, I had asked for attachment, and our center first said, well, you know, we'll just OPCON. I said, no, attach. And so they chopped orders and actually did that. But when we came there, first ID, whether it's maintenance, whether it's fuel, whether it's, you know, other classes of supply, you know, food, water. The 4 was having problems getting support because our patches were different than first infantry's. So their first thing is, hey, you'll get your own. And so brought that up to the Duvarty commander, and he told the chief about that. So the chief says, he said, I'll fix this. He got his little piece of paper, memo pad. He wrote, and he said, the 2nd Chemical Battalion is part of Big Red 1. You will feed them, fuel them, fix them. Signed, the chief of staff. And so I brought that back to the our talk. And so the staff, everybody made copies. So everybody had it in their cargo pockets and everything. So they needed fuel, they needed food, they needed ammo. If they had problems, they could bring that and that helped. Attachment also with the 437 armor. So part of the deception plan, we had both Mexico companies as part of that formation. They had 100 rounds of 50 cal ammunition per track. That's all they had. We had requisitions into the all log base. So out of all the millions of rounds on the ground there, they were all defective. They were defective lot. And it's like, you've got to be kidding me, because we're getting ready to take off. And had 100 rounds per track. And so, when's the replenishment coming? Not for long. And so I was very concerned. And so I talked to the XO for the 437 armor and explained my concern and everything. And he goes, hey, not a problem. He says, they're part of us. So we will cross-level across our battalion to plus up your swim tracks. So again, part of that unit, they felt we belonged to them. And so they were going to, you know, they were part of them. And so they're going to do whatever they could. The other issue that I had with supporting the deception was part of the deception, that 437 armor was going to attack with 1st Cav into Iraq, draw attention, draw fire, hopefully draw Iraqi armor, and then pull back and just keep their attention. And so as we were going through the rehearsal planning phase, I told the battalion commander, Colonel Marlin, 437 armor, my concern is if your deception works, we're going to have Iraqi armor shooting up our tracks and not have protection. I'm really concerned about that. So we were talking, and I remember him offering. He said, this is not a problem. How about if I attach a platoon of tanks to each of your companies? Can your guys do that? Sure. So again, think about your training, think about any instance at NTC, would you ever think the tank battalion commander would offer up a platoon of tanks to support the chemical company? But it happens. So you got to raise concerns if you have concerns and work things out. But being part of them was key. When you have like Corps higher headquarters, attaching and detaching and stuff on paper in a plan, it probably sounds good, it sounds easy, but we try to list, because when we're going through the decision cycle, understanding that commander, the division's decision cycle, resourcing, planning, and everything, you got to be part of that, and you can't just join them on the fly and plug in, because you're not really going to maximize your capabilities. SOI packets and everything. I don't know if you all, you guys have really gone light years with comms and everything, but in those days you had call sign frequency books and everything. We literally had to, our CIGO had to work with the G6 of like 3rd Armored Division through the entire night, pulling every spare frequency and everything to build our battalion call sign frequency SOI, because we weren't originally planned to be part of that formation. And so there's a lot of details that you got to work out. Where are you going to get supplies? What are your routes? Who owns that route? And who knows you're there? Because one of the big things that we kept harping on was no free agents, no roaming around. People need to know where you're at, who you're with, and so you don't get shot up if you go through. I kind of put this because on the admin side, that doesn't stop. I mean, it's not critical for the fight, but I will tell you, you better have an accurate database for your personnel if you have a medevac or if you have some incident, and your evaluations, reports, awards, all that kind of stuff will follow. So it doesn't stop. And so battle staff has to be prepared to figure out how to maintain that. And on the outplan, again, I talked about the sync matrix, but actually digging in and having the resources to do the fight, and how many vehicles that we had figured, and how many gallons of water, how many gallons of decon solution, fog roll, all those logistics and everything. Was critical, and so again, being part of that in the synchronization matrix, approved. It's a CG's priority, division priority, and we got the resources. So, got to plan that. Got to be part of the plan. You can't be an add-on after. Command and control location. So again, again, the key thing was where are we going to be located? What are the information channels? And again, I told you we had this rudimentary digital stuff to pass reports and graphics and all that kind of stuff, requisitions. But once we went to the FM for the ground fight, that all went away. And there's no way you can pass all that information. So how do you go from digital to analog? And I'm seeing that at the NTC now. When formation, we've become very expert at working out of a fob or COP, and doing operations and then coming back. But BCTs are finding that when they go into maneuver and they really kind of go into an analog mode, all your requisitions, all these other things that you used to have digitized goes away. Do you have an element that you can push forward to do some courier to carry graphics and requisitions? So think through that as you go through. And again, always looking at those basic battle tasks, whether it's defense, whether it's security, and reacting on contact and fires. I would tell you logistics was the big thing for us in terms of endurance, because how do you plan for a formation that's got very limited logistics capability on hand? I mean, we're designed to get a support plug from Corps, and that's great if you're near that area, but if you're not, then it becomes very difficult. And so how do you maintain that security, that ability to get resupply? The integration, the parts. I already told you about improvisation. As we passed Iraqi forces, some of the Iraqis had US 5-ton trucks. And so you'd see, I mean, you literally have a column of vehicles, and then you'd always see 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 vehicles straying over to that vehicle, and it just became cannibalized. I mean, parts started flying off of it, and by the time we passed through, you know, it was just a frame, and everything had been cannibalized. So we did the same thing. And so, yeah, look for opportunities to improvise, to plus up what your needs are. I wanted to talk about battlefield update briefing. So how many of y'all have sat through Commander's Update, the daily update brief, right? And the staff goes through what? I mean, thousands of gallons of fuel, how much water, contaminants, personnel, right? Force says how many vehicles are up and down. And so we did that. And not sure if that really helped the battalion commander, because I'm thinking of how far do we have to go, what is our mission, and what are the capabilities that we need. So a couple of years later, when I came back to command the 2nd Chemical Battalion, I told the XO one time, we were in a field training exercise up at Fort Hood. And I said, okay, XO, what I would really want to know from you guys on the battle staff is, if I had to jump right now, how far can I go? Based on the average mileage of each of the vehicle types that we've got, am I going to have to do a refuel on the move somewhere between now and how far I'm going to go? How many vehicles could I decon? You know, how many minutes of smoke can I do? So I said, you guys and gals have all that information because you've got all those stats that you're tracking. I don't need to know all those numbers. You know, I'm not a genius whiz that can do all that. But I want to know how far can I go and what can I do based on my mission. So next morning, XO's got this Excel spreadsheet, and just rudimentary, but that to me was very helpful, because when he can say, look, right now we can go 200 kilometers, we're going to have to do a refuel on the move about 110. I could then, you know, have the battle staff figure how are we going to resource that? Do we have enough? Do I need to get additional support? And for me, knowing I can go 200 clicks, I now have an idea of where I can do support based on my mission. So capabilities does not equal information. And so if you can fuse that information, I think that would be huge for the command team to be able to sort out. I kind of threw these pictures in here. So this was after the ground fight, as we were, 7th Corps was preparing to redeploy back to everybody's home station. Again, Corps, chemical staff, always helpful. They took us off the tip fitted, the airflow for redeployment, and they took us off and basically gave us all the chemical companies in the theater and in 7th Corps and said, your mission is to clean all the vehicles of the Corps to meet agricultural standards before they could all be redeployed and shipped back. I thought, thank you very much. So took that as an opportunity to say, let me go talk to the division G3s and see what their plans are. And so I went to every division, talked to the G3s, and they said, no, we're not waiting for you. We don't need you guys. We've got a lot of things we need to do, so we're going to clean our own. So every division did that, and so the 2nd ACR, we needed a chunk of land for an assembly area, and so I knew the deputy commander for the 2nd ACR, linked up with him, said, hey, can we get a chunk of ground? You have a PX, and telephone tent, and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, if you can help us, you know, we can help you. And he goes, great, can you, and, you know, help us clean up? I said, sure. So that's what we did. But this kind of brings to mind the whole notion of how do you weight your main effort and what assets do you really need to do the job. 2nd ACR, this was going to be 24/7 ops, and they knew we had limited people to be able to do it. So every trooper in the regiment, as they were coming through, they were chipping mud and stuff off the underside. They were part of the decon process, the cleanup process. They brought the ADLs for crossing for the vehicles and everything, get them out of the mud and not bogged down. They brought us tankers of water, and they provided some of their TPU units, pumps and everything. So it became a combined effort to do. And in my mind's eye, that is probably realistic on the battlefield. You can't do that for everybody, but if you are going to do it, what assets do you need? What can that unit do to help the effort? And just communicate that with them, and that's what we were able to do. So a little over a week, we helped them get cleaned up, get ready to redeploy. They provided us PX, showers, phone tents and all that kind of stuff. And so that worked out really well. But again, how do you have the endurance to do the mission that you need 24/7 and the assets? And I never realized how much water you can go through for cleanup. And it was just like a lake we had in the desert after we left. And but we had to go through it. So again, the Jiffy, it's good to eat, but not something that you want to do for task organization. I was thinking through, again, maybe lessons, and so through the years, thoughts in my mind, I just kind of put them on paper and everything, but these are just some of the things of taking time to plug in. Factor that in. You got to be part of the effort. You got to be part of the plan shot. They need to know you, trust you, and you need to have time to get that wicked and tied in, because it does take time. That way you can shape the decisions. Otherwise, you're just falling in on whatever somebody thought was a good idea, and you're going to have to execute that, which is not good. The whole analog digital thing, plan for the worst. If you're going to go analog, which is probably the hardest because it's great for comms, limited distance, but if you're in an analog mode, how you can get all the other things that you need to do. Plan that out. Worst case, the training for both. Kind of shape the maintenance priority. When we chopped from 18th Airborne Corps, we had vehicles in deadline, in the queue for maintenance and everything. So one of our big decisions was, from the time commander, do we drag the broke stuff with us to go out to our tactical assembly, or do we just leave it in 18th Corps, let it get fixed, and then have to come back? And so we decided that's what we did. So we didn't tell 18th Corps. So when we left, the battalion Maine, 4 had to go back with the party to pick up vehicles as they were getting repaired and everything. But on the flip side, you could also arrange, if you have a significant maintenance issue and everything, and you can drag it, you have the resources to do that, get priority on the other end. Because you all know, first in, first out kind of thing. So you got to get some priority, you got to get tied in so they recognize the priority issue or something. Shape information for capability needs. Again, I don't know, do you all do that now? Or do you still brief all the thousands of gallons of stuff, water, everything that you've got? Is there a tool, is there an app for that? Think about that, because capability focus is really what the commander needs. And if you can help he or she do that, I think it would just be much easier for everybody. It's always key to know who owns the terrain, priorities for movement, security on movement. Tactical SOP, make it simple. Pretty dictionary doesn't help anybody. Nobody's going to use it, and so get one that works and exercise with it. Be prepared to have different levels of mission essential task list proficiency, training proficiency, because we got all new units, and so we had to work our way through just the basics of tactical movement, mission, action on contact, some of those basic things that we're going to have to do. Quick little vignette, when we were in the Desert Shield portion on the coast of Saudi Arabia, there were some huge sand dunes. There were places that you could not drive through. I didn't know, at that point, we were still doing the defense of Saudi Arabia, and so, we had issues of navigation on the desert. Trucks were getting stuck. Thought, okay, how do we overcome that? And couldn't figure it out. Nobody, movement just kept getting stuck. And so we talked to a Saudi officer, Saudi National Guard, and he goes, sand ladders. Anybody hear of sand ladders? Okay, he said simply it's angle iron that you get welded into little ladders. And you have one set for each of your drive wheels, and then when you're stuck, you jam your sand ladder in the front of the wheel, and then when you put power, you literally climb out of the hole. So we tried that, it worked great. My driver even, because the ladder gets jammed into the sand and you lose it, he says, well, we'll just hook up a chain to the lift pin in the back. He says, we'll just pop it out and just keep going until we can stop and recover. So we contracted to have sand ladders built for all the wheeled vehicles in the battalion before we kicked off. Didn't need it because the terrain got harder as we got into Iraq. But again, how do you train, how do you do those things? And then working your way through what would actually work. And if you ever get to somewhere where sand ladders, and then again, admin, never stops. Anybody heard of smoke on an air base? Okay, so these are photos from combat, Air Force combat photo. So the Air Force at the King Fahd Air Base, where 101st Air Assault was being staged out of, and the Air Force had their A-10s and fighters coming out of it. So this is forward, kind of a air port under construction at King Fahd. And so they came to us and said, we're thinking it might be helpful for survivability of the airfield to have smoke. But we'd like for you to do that. We want to do a demonstration. So I said, okay. So I had two wheel smoke companies. And so we got the assets and everything, and they said, okay, we want you to smoke at 06 in the morning and then at noon. And so who thinks you can do smoke at noon? That's what I told them. I said, no, this is stupid. You're not going to get anything. And they said, no, 06 and noon. We want to do that. We'll fly, attack fighters against the air base, and we want to see what happens. So this is kind of over about half hour, a little over half hour. We had the smoke out on the perimeter. We started up, I don't know if it was an hour, but the smoke started flowing. It became uniform. So at 06, on the ground, everything was smoked in. Fighters going against the airfield had to go up in order to get the angle to shoot. And they had the ADA folks around the air base, and they said, okay, we got them on radar, so that works. The noon, I thought this is going to be interesting. Started to smoke. You see the smoke plumes where the generators were, and they started going straight up, as I thought. Then they started going horizontal. About 1,000 feet, it started going horizontal. And we covered down to the ocean, I think. So we covered in this huge area. And it was smoke, it was clear on the deck. But about 1,000 feet, there was great uniform coverage. And I talked to the Air Force guy, and he goes, oh yeah, it hit the inversion cap. I go, what the hell is the inversion cap? Because we've never heard that in our smoke ops. And he goes, well, it's a layer. And I said, do your Met people actually look for that? And he goes, oh yeah, it's part of for the flight ops. We need that. That's one of the things. And so it varies. But yeah, today is about 1,000 feet. So when it hits the inversion cap, it starts going horizontal with the wind. It merges, it's uniform. And so the Air Force was thrilled because of that. In midday, they could do ops and loading aircraft and doing things and not hinder anything. And for the air defense, again, they would have to bump up high, and when that happened, the radar would get on the ADA, would be able to take them out. So they were thrilled. I think based on that, the Air Force actually bought these big fixed smoke generators and positioned them around the airfield. So your Corps actually did smoke ops at an air base, and it worked. So, in the context of your decisive action operations in the AOC, looking at the understanding, the adaptability, the endurance, and those abilities that you need to be able to do, if you get into decisive action operations, whether it's a brigade combat team or division level or greater and everything, I hope these nuggets might be of use one day for you. They got us through the fight that we had to do. And again, I really appreciate the time today that you guys to spend and listen to an old Dragon Trooper kind of tell you something from 24 years ago. But I'm hoping some of this will be useful for what you have to do in the future. So that's all I've got. And again, thank you very much for your time.